sounds like a cliche, but it was very profound. Because I came to the conclusion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was a reality and He deserved to be worshipped. I came to the conclusion that the Quran was an inimitable text. It was ijaz, it was miraculous, it can only come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for me, it was this intellectualization. It didn't really make sense to me. Because it was this intellectual mechanics, gymnastics if you like. It was like something on my shoulder. It wasn't internalized. And for me, what I required was some kind of emotional, psychological, spiritual element to take what I knew and for it to be internalized in my heart. And my friend came to speak to me on October the 4th, I believe, 2002. And he spoke to me about death. I don't remember what he said, but it was so profound. And even to try to describe it would be trying to catch a black cat in the dark. It's almost impossible. But for me, death is so important, and we usually ignore death and even ignore things like pain and suffering. But let me tell you, brothers and sisters, you're going to learn things from pain and suffering and death that you will never learn from pleasure. And we always run away from pain, don't we? Oh, I want things to be so easy. By the way, I'm not saying you should be sadists, right? God forbid. But what I'm trying to say is, see pain from a spiritual perspective. See death from a spiritual perspective. See suffering from a spiritual perspective. And it could teach you things that pleasure will never teach you. And don't deny it all the time. It may be a profound lesson for you. I mean, to deny it is actually self-defeating. Because if your mother was running away from pain, you wouldn't be born. I mean, think about the concept of labor. Labor is a metaphor for life. Full of pain. I mean, my wife, our first son, Zakaria, she went through about 40 hours of labor. 3-minute contractions from the beginning. I saw Jahannam in front of me. It was madness. She went through hell. Her eyes were rolling. It was absolutely chaos. But let me tell you something. The minute Zakaria was born, it's as if Jannah appeared. And that's life. Life, the dunya is going to be full of contractions and pain. Life's going to be full of suffering sometimes. You can't run away from it. But if you're patient, if you have sabr, if you have tawakkul, if you believe in Allah, if you have hope, look what happens. And the minute Zakaria was born, it was like falling in love again. And she forgot the pain. I still had stitches in my stomach because I was like, you know when you have empathy for someone, when someone squeezes, you squeeze, you squeeze. I had like a full ab workout, man. You know, it happens on movies, you know when you have like movies of someone, you know, giving birth, like, why am I so tense, right? Anyway, so, suffering, pain and death, these things could have profound moments. We don't wish for it. We wish for ease. But when they come, then we should be spiritually ready and see the spiritual insights behind these things. So death for me was quite profound because death is the thing that abolishes the ego. Because if you really believe, wallahi brothers and sisters, that even the person you hate is going to die, you won't hate him no more. Honestly. How can you? The guy's going to die. He's going to meet his Lord. Especially if he's a non-Muslim that rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you should have such a concern for that person. You know, one sheikh once told us that there was a guy who had this really expensive car. He was filling up, putting petrol in his car. And some guy bumped into him and damaged his car. Do you know what this guy did? He just looked the other way. And you know why? And the sheikh was telling us because this guy had far more important things in his mind about priorities. And when you think and reflect about death in a profound way, it prioritizes the real things in life. Dunya doesn't really become important anymore. Hey, you took my car, khalas, keep it, it's yours, you know. I've got the akhirah to worry about, it's eternity. Do you see my point? And that's why death is not only the killer of pleasures, but it really prioritizes things for us from a spiritual and emotional perspective. So for me, it prioritizes the truth a lot. And I had to internalize the belief in Allah and in the Quran and in the Prophet in order for me to become a Muslim, because it really prioritized the big questions. You're going to die one day and face your Lord, so make a decision. So from this perspective, brothers and sisters, you know, give yourself some time to reflect on death. It breaks the ego and it prioritizes your life. So maybe, and let's hope this is going to change things in our community. And it is changing slowly, but a little bit more. Maybe black lives will matter within our own community too. So when a black brother becomes a Muslim and he's very pious, and I mentioned this earlier, yesterday, that we won't have a problem if you're Daisy and he asks for your daughter's hand in marriage. Because this is very important, because if you think of death on the Icna and what's really of value, you know that skin color doesn't mean much. And this is very important, brothers and sisters, because if we don't fix the internal, subconscious racism within our community, then how are we going to fix the non-Muslim community? Don't point the finger, 3 fingers are pointing back. And I'm going to be quite brave here. Sometimes there could be more racism in the Muslim community than outside. Because the racism is hidden. It has a pious veneer, has a pious veil, don't mind the pun. And we have to remove this and ask ourselves some profound questions. You know, is Islam mixed up with my so-called nationalistic identity? And this is very important. I'm mentioning this is because you guys are going to attend the next session, and I want you to have this in front of your mind. In order for me to solve this problem, I have to solve our problem. And this is why, you know, even me, I truly believe if a black brother asks for my daughter's hand, I'll say, yeah, man, of course. You're my brother. I don't see your color. You're my brother. Do you see? And that's how we should be. Truly, not just intellectualize it, but internalize it. And the only way this is going to work, if some of you are going to be brave and take leadership. I'm not saying disobey your parents, by the way. I don't believe in disobeying parents. Wallahi, this is haram. But what I'm saying is really take spiritual, emotional, and social leadership and say, this is who I am. This is what I want. And get the community behind you. Because this is what should happen, brothers and sisters. You know, we're a multicultural race, we're a multicultural people, and we don't see color. As the Prophet ﷺ said, a white doesn't have a superiority of a black, nor a black over a white, nor an Arab over a non-Arab, or vice versa. We're one ummah, and the most important thing is piety. So maybe death could help us prioritize the real things in life, and remove these egos and these nationalistic, egocentric tendencies. And maybe reflecting on death is going to allow us to basically prioritize even the way we see wealth. Because some of you, let me be very frank, we had a youth session just earlier. These youth are dying, and it's all your fault, brothers and sisters, the ones who are parents. It's you're to blame. You are the problem. We expect them before they need to get married, we expect them to have 3 degrees, a PhD, 2 houses, a Bugatti Veyron, and, you know it, yeah? And also to have like $30,000 mahr or something, and that's low. We make in this community zina easy and nikah very hard, and you're wondering why people are doing zina. We are not following the sunnah, make it easy. I heard brothers in the Desi community, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, I don't care to be honest. Because you know, medicine's good, sometimes it's bitter. In the Desi community they have nikah in 2015, and he gets to see her in 3015. What is this? You have things like nikah, engagement, wedding, walima, ruksati, muksati, what is this, man? Yeah, but if we follow the sunnah, and we have to follow, make it easy for people. All of these things are irrelevant, wallahi, brothers and sisters. Who cares what Auntie G says thousands of miles away, or some uncle says? It says more about them than it says about you. Take leadership, aunties. Take leadership, uncles. Wallahi, who cares what people think? I teach my children all the time, who cares what people think? Care what Allah thinks. And it will change your life, it will change your community. So start marrying the Desis with the blacks. Start arranging your wedding in your living room with only $100 mahr. There'll be more barakah in the wedding, wallahi. This is life. Forget what people think. It's one of the biggest diseases, I would even say the hidden shirk of our community. Oh my God, I can't wear the same shoes I did last week in that wedding. What are they going to say? Yeah? But it's true though, this is a reality, brothers and sisters. Make it easy for people. Follow the sunnah. Make nikah easy and zina very hard. And we could change the problem. And that's why there's a lot of people. Many of you can't afford your children to get married at 18. They could live in separate houses until they do the degrees. At least they have somebody, they have a focus, they have that love. They're not going to fall into haram. But you guys believe that not having a degree is haram and doing zina is okay. Socially, you have this indication. You're prioritizing this to your own children. Wallahi. And I say this to my son and my children. Allah's not going to ask you in the day of judgment if you got A's and B's. Allah's not going to ask if you got a degree. Allah's not going to ask you how white your woman was. Because many of our cultures, especially in Bangladesh and Pakistan, the fairer she is, the better she is. Which is a post-colonial mindset. How stupid is that? Even in Malaysia, it was big posters. Fair and lovely whitening cream. What is this? true. It's true, and this is disgusting. But in the West, what do we say now? We say tall, dark, and handsome. You see how crazy we are? But the point is, Allah's not going to ask us about these things on the day of Judgment. I say to my son and my children, do your best, but what's most important is that you're a good human being. What defines you as a good human being is Islam. If you give your children only one priority, brothers and sisters, they were to express themselves and become leaders. You have people in this community who are basically a slave to social norms. Enslaved to social norms. They could be the greatest du'at. We need more du'at. We don't need more doctors. I'm telling you. We need doctors of the soul, no other doctors. We've got many of them now, alhamdulillah. We've got many engineers. I mean, how many bridges do you want to build, man? The point is, we need du'at now. Where are the du'at in this community? Where are the faces? What I mean by du'at is the du'at facing the non-Muslim community. We have many amazing mashayikh. But where are the big leaders in the American community? And people are all eyes on American Muslims. They're looking for leadership, brothers and sisters. So hopefully some of these concepts are going to hit home. Sorry for being overly rhetorical, but you're going to remember how I made you feel, not necessarily what I said, and hopefully it will hit home. Please, if this was worth it, just take some lessons and make a change, because otherwise we're going to go around in circles. May Allah bless you. Wallahi. Assalamu alaikum.